Moving on, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Sunday that cooperation with the United Nations nuclear watchdog is no longer relevant following the reimposition of international sanctions. He referred to the September Cairo agreement with the IAEA, which had been designed to resume inspections after Tehran halted cooperation due to Israeli and US strikes in June. Araghchi criticized the E3 nation, UK, France and Germany for reimposing sanctions, saying this undermines their role in future nuclear talks. Iran accused the IAEA of failing to condemn attacks on its sites and rejects Western claims it seeks nuclear weapons, stating its program is civilian under the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Araghchi also said that Iran's final decision on cooperation will be announced soon, but diplomacy is still possible. Listen in to what the Iranian foreign minister had to say.
سه کشور اروپایی به خیال خودشون یک اهرامی رو در دست داشتن، اهرام اسنپبک، و تهدید به اجرای اون میکردن. خب الان این اهرام رو به کار گرفتن و نتیجهش رو هم دیدن. هیچ اتفاقی نیفتاد که بتونه مشکلی رو حل بکنه و صرفاً دیپلماسی رو سخت‌تر و پیچیده‌تر کردن. سه کشور اروپایی قطعاً نقش خودشون رو کمرنگ‌تر کردن و توجیه مذاکراتی با خودشون رو تقریباً از بین بردن و در هر گونه راه حل مذاکراتی آینده من تصور می‌کنم که نقش بسیار کمتری از گذشته خواهند.
Right. Well, the Russian Defense Ministry has stated that Russian forces have carried out massive strikes on Ukrainian military, industrial enterprises and gas facilities. The attacks targeted energy infrastructure facilities, and this comes as Ukraine earlier reported drone sightings at industrial zones along the border. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky accused them of being spy drones. The front lines remain active as the Russian Defense Ministry says that the Russian forces have captured Kuzminovka in Ukraine's Donetsk region. Russia continues to intensify attacks across eastern Ukraine, including the Donetsk, Sumy, the Kharkiv and Kherson regions. Let's listen in to what the residents had to say.
Біда сталася, що сталося? Даху нема. Вікна всі повилітали, всі двері всередині все повилітало. Ну що їм ще можу сказати? Я не маю бажання говорити. Дверей нема, вікон нема, даху нема.
All right, Ross Feingold, political analyst, is joining us from Taipei at this point in time. Ross, always a pleasure having you. Well, you know, everybody was hoping that the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is going to taper down. You know, it's unfortunate that the events and whatever was going on, especially in the last 24 hours, continues to point towards the opposite. It seems that Russia has upped the ante against Ukraine.
We've known for some time throughout the recent weeks and months of heavy engagement by President Trump and his special envoy that Russia continues to try to change the facts on the ground and control as much territory as possible in advance of some kind of ceasefire or long-term peace agreement, because Russia's thinking here is that President Trump would say to President Zelensky, there's a ceasefire or peace agreement opportunity or deal on the table, but you have to accept the reality that Russia occupies part of Ukraine's territory and you cannot expel the Russian military from those occupied areas. So that's Russia's thinking here, that the U.S. would put pressure on Ukraine to basically accept a ceasefire or a halt to the fighting where the current front line is. So based on that thinking, Russia continues to try to advance forward. We have to keep in mind, though, that Russia's gains on the ground are very, very small and very, very costly. That being said, they continue to make small gains on the ground.
Ross, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for giving that perspective. Well, that's all we